Through their own properties, protons, neutrons, and electrons, whatever they are made of, come together to form atoms. Atoms, through their own attractive and repulsive properties, come together to form molecules. Molecules, through their own interactions, form cells. By combining a great deal of heat and pressure to pyruvic acid and water, an enclosure is formed which protects molecules, creating an environment in which they could form cells. In the Miller-Urey experiment, the chemists Stanley Miller and Harold Urey were able to create 22 amino acids with water, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen by combining a lot of heat and pressure to this soup. Without a protective enclosure, the amino acids quickly get broken down. Bob Hazen's experiment with pyruvic acid shows how a protective enclosure could be created in an environment similar to that which forms amino acids. However they are made, cells then can combine to form tissues, such as algae or certain types of seaweed. This is a multicellular organism, but with only one type of cell. After that, tissues then combine to form multicellular organisms with multiple types of cells. This all emerges from the crude rule sets of individual cells acting with each other. Then the organisms themselves get together to form societies, like schools of fish, herds of buffalo, flocks of birds, hives of insects, packs of wolves, or tribes of apes. And tribes of apes can include humans. For centuries, the flocking of birds confounded ornithologists. Many bizarre theories were put forward, such as the common soul hypothesis, thought transference, and chorus line hypothesis. In 1986, Craig Reynolds programmed the basic rule set of bird behavior into a supercomputer at the time, and the birds flocked. The solution emerged from the simple behavior of each bird in the simulation. If you get too close, fly away. If you get too far away, fly closer to the other birds. Human crowds work in the same way. A line of people will form as a result of one person following the other, trying to get through a crowd, doing his own thing. There are no commandments. It just happens. It just emerges. Civilization itself is built up in the same way. A man learns to farm, then realizes he can grow more by carrying water to his crops. Other men then realize the same thing, and as a result, they all get together to work out an irrigation system that will work for all of them and will prevent overuse by any individual farmer somehow. Human civilization is an emergent complexity and is not mandated from the top down. It is built up. The rational self-interest of individuals is what created irrigation, any type of infrastructure. Before states, larger ports were created when shipping companies got together and made ports to benefit from an economy of scale. Again, working out allotments to prevent a tragedy of the commons. Trade networks developed when individuals realized they can make more money by taking goods from one area to another. So what is the state? The state, in this sense, is a false certainty that stems from a misunderstanding of how the world really works. The first states were religious, and the first kings were connected to God in some way. Either they were demigods, chosen by God, had a revelation from God, or were the high priest. This God connection gave the first kings the legitimacy in the eyes of the masses and a mirage of certainty. The idea that humans must be ordered from the top down stems from the idea that life itself is ordered from the top down, either from a singular god or from various gods assigned to regulate certain things, like Poseidon regulating the seas, or Zeus regulating whatever the heck Zeus regulated. The irony, of course, is that the state itself emerges. That which denies emergence emerges. Right? Each individual wants things to be ordered and nice, and takes actions to make his life ordered and nice. But unlike birds, men can think abstractly. This gives them the ability to use language, make maps, and the like. It also gives them the ability to dream up genies, angels, good government, pixies, gods, and all sorts of crazy stuff. But of course, the rational self-interest of the people who are perceived as being agents of the state is why there is such abuse in the state. The same principles that predict how life and human civilization will emerge and how the state will emerge also predict how individuals given artificially high levels of trust and authority by the masses, i.e. a state, as a result of being seen as the state, how they will abuse their power. Nothing can be omniscient because it cannot calculate itself, and the state cannot calculate society, as even if the state were made up of every single member of society, the state cannot calculate itself. It takes more than one person to calculate the behavior of one person, and the notion that the state can calculate subjective demand better than an emergent matrix of prices and ostracisms is theistic. A state cannot calculate society any more than you can calculate the constant processes of your own body. I said this in the text, but let me say this again. States emerge in the same way creationists evolved. States are non-emergent in that they deny the emergent order and are utopian because they are trying to create something independent of the elements that constitute the emergent order. Or we could say independent of the elements that constitute the market. And this is impossible, and the results of the attempts to do so are manifest.